Hey everyone, welcome back to the table. What I wanted to do today, I was very excited to do this, was we're going to take a look at the Nations at War version 3 rulebook. So just a quick clarification from the World at War when I did that rulebook, and I should have realized that the rules are available for anybody to get. It's not Kickstarter exclusive or anything weird that I got, the digital. It's all here on the resources page of Lock and Load Publishing website. And so what I wanted to do real quick was just show you actually the vast amount of information. I had to admit that when it comes to playing games and things like that, I kind of just tend to stick to what comes in the box. Very rarely do I stray out to Board Game Geek to find questions unless I get really stumped on something, but I'm just kind of live under a rock, if you will. And I decided to venture out here, and it was like, oh my goodness, if I just take the time to go look at the publisher website, there is a vast amount of information available for Lock and Load Publishing, at least. I think that probably this is the most supported games that I've seen. And it's crazy what they have here. So first of all, this is the website. This is an attractive website. I am thoroughly jealous. Like I want to make my own website, but it ain't gonna look like this. I'll tell you that much. This is amazing. In fact, the advice I got was just make a Facebook account and save yourself the headache. Yeah, because this is fantastic. So really cool looking website. Then what's really cool is, and this, I'm not logged in. I don't know what you can see here, but I'm not logged in. So this isn't like a special account or anything. I just pulled this right up on the interweb. If you go to resources, this is right here. Look, World at War core rules, Space Infantry Resurgence core rules, Nation at War starter kit, Lock and Load tactical. I can't tell if that's the rules. Oh, it says a gameplay narrative. This is the most amazing thing if you're trying to learn the Lock and Load tactical system. It's like a partial game played out. You can follow along. Like if you lay out the pieces, lay everything out, and then just move stuff yourself. It's like it follows along, teaches you the game. It's amazing. The Lock and Load tactical core rules. So yeah, the core rules, everything is available here. You can come get it. So you don't even have to watch my video. I'm just talking with y'all because I enjoy talking with y'all. So we're going to look right here. Nations at War core rules. Version 3 is coming. I wasn't even aware. Oh, I got to click the link. I had no idea that version 3 was coming. I've got version 2 Desert Heat. And, well, here, let me go back just real fast. Check this out. They've got so much. Pacific War from Pearl Harbor to the Philippines, Living Rules, version 4. So a new print of that is coming. But like the vassal modules, this is just page after page of supporting material, vassal module updates. It's just crazy. Nations at War series clarifications and corrections. It's all here. It's not hidden away from the public or anything. I mean, you would think, well, of course they're going to do that. But like I said, I think this is the most supported game series company. I mean, this is just fantastic. So anyway, coming back here, I mean, I could go show you more, but you can come here yourself and look. And we're going to hit download now. And we're going to take a look at Nations at War core rules version 3. Now, I'm not going to do a comparison between the version 2 rulebook I get and the version 3. I'm just going to take a look at this version here. And there's a spiral bound that you can get of this as well. I think that it's up on the page. I looked at it. I don't think it's available for purchase yet, but there will be a spiral bound rule. So the games are going to come with the, I don't know what they call that, the perfect bound or just, the regular book, but you can, as an option, get the spiral bound as well. So here's Nations at War. Let's see if I can rotate this without turning it off. Let's see if this will auto-rotate for me. No, of course not. Let's see if this rotate button will work. That's a refresh. That's the problem with these things. This is where I should pause, but where's the fun in that? So we're going to cause this thing to flip, go back to the browser. That didn't do anything that I wanted. Okay, so I will pause. Okay, and like 2 seconds later, I found it. So anyway, me and technology, we don't get along. So here it is, Nations at War. Oh, Core Rules version 3. It says 2nd edition, but Core Rules version 3. And this is going to be very cool. So already, I think they're going with this format here, which is what they had before, like the color-coded rules and stuff like that. And then with like the player aids, all the color codes match up. So what do we have here? They're going to show the counters, the introduction, general concepts, setting up the game, movement, combat, line of sight rules, defensive measures, battlefield chaos, fate points, additional rules, and then we got some Overwatch, map update, scenario details, and the battle generator. So that's awesome. I'm gonna flip through. I want to look at the battle generator, because that to me is like the one thing that gives your game like infinite replayability right there, is the fact that you can then create your own scenarios. So that's very cool. So we'll see what the battle generator looks like. All right, and then the counters, and I think, well, it looks like the counters, I'm trying to remember, I talked with David Heath a little bit, and let me tell you, I don't take very good notes, but I think that counters are being updated as well. It's a little bit easier to read, a different font. I think you mentioned too that the counters might be a little bit bigger, or maybe that was for World at War. But yeah, I should take better notes when I talk to people. But they look great. I think these look really good. They're going to fit on the table, I think, really good. And that's the thing, is I know, depending on who you talk to, counters and art for some folks, like that doesn't matter, it's the information. I'm kind of the opposite. I like a good looking counter, and the information is important, but I'm a visual person, and if the game doesn't look visually appealing, it doesn't pull me in. I kind of lose some of that immersion. So yeah, I've played a lot of video games, so that visual thing is important for me. Plus, side conversation note, it's important to get my kid to game too. He does not like at all, say, like squad leader type of game, the old Avalon Hill stuff. To him, that's like, oh, that's stinky. But you get something really good looking, and that helps bring in those gamers that might feel that way. They get so used to the video games, the flash and the graphics, and then you have a board game that also has really good grab visually. I think that helps bring people in. And these counters, I think they're great. They look fine, and the information is easy to read. So we're good there. And again, we got several pages then of the counter details explaining the front, back, what loaded. And that I thought was always fun. On the one side it's the infantry when they're deployed, flip it, then it's like, oh, they're loaded in the truck. Basic stuff like that, but always really good to see. But clearly explained in detail. A little spot for some notes. Then we get into the introduction. When you play Nations at War, you will command several platoons, units, on a map board to achieve victory conditions, objectives, stated within the parameters of each scenario. Each map board is divided into hexagons, hexes, to regulate distance, with each hex representing approximately 150 meters in width. All right, cool. And then support, again, go to the Lock and Load Publishing website. They even got forums there. I'll just read right there, forums, plus the resource page. Like I said, that's phenomenal, the amount of free stuff that they give. I still think that's really awesome. And it's all organized. It's like right there. How to use the manual. So this is the 2nd edition of the Nations at War series. The blue stands out. You got examples, summaries, and yellow boxes. But it is Core Rules version 3. So general concepts. Dice, NATO symbols, and I've seen several games do that too, where well, it says here, NATO symbols are graphical designs that designate the types of military units in Nations at War. NATO symbols are printed on the upper right hand corner of counters that are soft targets. So yeah, probably can't see here. I'd have to go back to the counters. It's like, well, that's cool, but let's see, where's an example here. Like here, engineer, they got the NATO E. Truck, they got the little square on wheels, flak. So on some of these you can see the NATO symbology, and that's cool. They didn't do that on the tanks, the armor, but the soft targets that have that. And I liked how, I always like games that kind of blended that, where like certain ones had the NATO. I don't know. The tanks need pictures, right? They gotta have graphics. The infantry and soft stuff have graphics too, but anyway, the NATO symbology. I haven't memorized all that. If you play a specific game that only uses NATO symbology, you get used to that because you learn the symbols. You have to, right, in order to play, because that's what's on the counters. But again, being a graphics person, I love to see the pictures of the tanks and the vehicles. Visually appealing to me. Anyway, you got the nomenclature, definitions coming along, unit types, defining what is a soft target, what is a hard target, what are aircraft. Let's see here. Soft targets, infantry. Moving into what is armored infantry. Your gun batteries, mortars, firing mortars. Mortars are a huge thing. I didn't realize how important mortars were, but I was reading somewhere on the internet, but I guess mortars were like a very huge part of infantry combat. I think it's something that's kind of overlooked a lot of times when you think about, you know, war. Usually I'm just thinking of the infantry moving forward, but mortars help with that immensely. It was a hugely used weapon. Headquarters, sub-headquarters. Headquarters cannot be disrupted. Alright, cool. Hard targets, armored fighting vehicles, your recon units, support weapons, and getting into support weapons in combat, unit color stacking. And already we're at page 17, and we've gone in depth into a lot of the game components. Now, this is something that comes up, I don't want to say comes up a lot, but I mean, I see this mentioned often, maybe, is how many pages are in a rule book, and does that mean a game is too complicated? But again, I think that what we've got here is there's information that I think is sometimes omitted, and this can lead to questions on, you know, what something means or how exactly this is supposed to be used. And so I think having this information in here actually helps. And it's not complicated reading. And I think, trying to remember, because I don't take good notes, font size 12 is what's being used in the book. So on a PDF, it might look like a lot kind of condensed because, you know, it's in the digital format. But when you have the books in your hands, they're very easy to read as well. It's not very hard on the eyes. And so it's not like you're getting a book that is just condensed small font, 3 columns, you know, not gonna, it's just, that's difficult reading. This is actually a very easy read. And again, having those information there, I think is actually just kind of a benefit, you know, helps clarify questions that might come up. Anyway, then you get into setting up the game, marker, so beginning the game, operations phase, marker removal phase. If a formation doesn't activate, what do we do there? If a formation doesn't activate, see, this is what I was thinking of when I was looking at the World at War, and I haven't got to all the rules for the World at War. I know they're using cards instead of the counters, and here they got the counters that represent your activation. So you draw a counter, and this unit activates. But what if a formation doesn't activate? If a formation doesn't activate during a turn, its owner keeps all but one in-turn marker in his possession when the formation and in-turn markers are returned to the cup. So he keeps all but one. So usually there's only 2 in a cup, so he's going to hold on to 1. He returns any in-turn markers he possesses to the cup on the following turn immediately after the formation is activated. This means that if you have 2 or even 3 formations that didn't activate, you hold the in-turn marker until all 3 have activated. So this gives a chance that there might be a turn where a unit or something does not activate, but every I shouldn't say every turn activate, but every unit will have an opportunity to activate, and then you throw that in-turn counter back into the cup, and then there's a chance that the turn could end. So it just kind of gives you a slight fog of war. You never quite know who might not activate, but at some point everybody gets to activate. So it's an interesting system, and this is what I was looking for at the World at War, to see if the cards will play out the same way. And I didn't dig that far enough into the rules, but this is what was coming to my mind when I was thinking about you keep out in-turn markers, and once all the units have activated, you get to throw your in-turn marker back into the cup, and then you can end the turn normally. But anyway, just moving along here. Oh, if both sides have formations that didn't activate, both sides will hold an in-turn marker out of the cup. And then there's an example of that. Then you got formation impulse, unit formation marker removal, check command status. And again, see, what I think is fantastic is even the examples. Like if you took out all of the examples of play and the little notes here that are to help clarify information, you're going to have a much smaller rule book. So just looking at this is cool because these highlighted items stand out as, hey, keep this in mind. Plus then once you couple that with the player aid charts, and they make fantastic player aid charts that once you go through the rules, and then if you line that up with the player aid as you read the rules, everything comes together, and you can generally just play the game off of the player aid cards. So it's fantastic. So again, call outs, examples. Now you're on to movement, move and fire. Here's a move and fire summary, which again I think is great because it just puts the rules into a little bullet point section. Transporting units, loading, special loading and unloading units, the motorcycle unit. Get into combat, conducting a ranged attack. Again, you got several pages on that, but combat is kind of the main focus of a game like this. Got your extended range, reduced range rules, limited range. And there it is, conducting an attack with mortars. Got to have mortars. And again, a nice example. Summary of rules, more examples, call-outs. Now generally the blue is either clarified or new additions to rules. Opportunity fire. So again, I mean, like I said, if you were to take out a lot of the examples that they have and the rule summaries, you would probably have a much smaller rule book. So this is actually nice that it's all included in here. Actually, well, that's what player aid tried. I was like, man, I wonder if you could just go and copy paste out just these rule summary parts and put those into a document. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what the player aid cards are. Never mind, already done. Overrun combats. Then the line of sight. Line of sight is always the thing in any game that I struggle with. It doesn't matter. I need simple line of sight. Like, okay, here's a hill. It blocks line of sight on either. But I still, because you're looking down and you're trying to visualize that 3D space. For me, even when I was in the Army, I hated land nav and map reading. I struggled with that because my brain just doesn't quite process the 3D elements. So when I'm looking at a board game, if there's a lot of contours and hill elevations, yeah, it can be a bit of a pain for me to kind of visualize that. So anyway, line of sight. But there you go again, line of sight rules. Defensive measures, which I was going to say, which is why in some war games, when possible, I play on flat maps that maybe just have woods, because I'm like, yep, woods block. But then when you start having varying elevations of hill heights and things, well, then you got to worry about blind spots, and yeah, it's just me. Defensive measures, you got improved positions, you can lay mines, mine placement and attack summary. Mine removal. Yeah, good luck with that. It's not as easy as it seems. Mines removal summary. You got wire. So much wire. I mean, I can only imagine how many miles of concertina wire I've helped set up, and taking it down. I think very rarely did we ever take down concertina wire. Once you put that in like a triple where you put like 2 rolls on the bottom, 1 on the top, kind of makes this. Yeah, I tell you what, I don't think we ever really took down wire that often. Once that's in place, it just stays. There's an example there. Anti-tank ditches. Unit place smoke. Looks like it's all blue, so possibly some new stuff there. So again, maybe not. The core rules don't change much, right? But the layout and synchronizing them better with the player A cards and getting a consistent look among the rule books. That's probably the biggest thing you're going to get here. So if you don't purchase, like if you already have second edition of everything, you're probably fine. Just take the rule books. They're free, right? And then you have it. You can play your game using the 3.0 rule book to help kind of merge things together. And that's what I did with the Lock-and-Load Tactical. Was the rule book that it included was just fine, but when they had the new updated version 5.0 rule book and the spiral bound, I was like, yes. It made it so much easier to find stuff, and then having all the rules, examples, and clarifications in there was great. So I think the same thing will happen here. You don't have to buy the 3.0, like the new the new boxed editions to get the new rulebook. Just download the rulebook and you've got all the information you need to play. Fate point table, additional rules, so anti-aircraft units, your artillery, high explosive fire, calling in your smoke fire missions, close air support, and again little summaries at the end. Yeah, which I mean is great, because again, once you kind of read the rules and you have an idea what's going on, you don't have to sit in the rule book. The summaries are great. You designate your target, perform anti-aircraft attack, perform attacks against the target, defender rolls to prevent damage, resolve hits to the target, check for return status of the aircraft. If those things don't trigger your memory on how to do it exactly, then yeah, just dive in and find what you need, and it's laid out here for you very nicely. Optional support weapon placement. And you get into leaders. Yeah, if I remember from Desert Heat, I had like Rommel. That's the only name that stands out as one of the leaders. Engineers, Pioneers, Sappers. That's my job. Bridge demolition by engineers. Never blew up a bridge though. Would have been fun. Then the bridge demolition summary. Okay. Well, yeah, blowing up a bridge is not as easy as you think. I never blew one up, but we did training for it, and it's a lot of math. You would think, hey, just put bombs here, put bombs here, put bombs here. It's actually probably one of the more complicated things that I ever learned how to do, and it is a lot of math. Not a fun thing. Let's see, then you got Overwatch, and the map updates. Name changes there, okay. Probably important for me. No, let's see. Nations at War. Okay, the scenario details, scenario layout, special rules, the battle generator. Okay, so really the core rules here, we're looking at about 49 pages. That's not bad. And remember, and I don't know if I'm emphasizing this too much because it's just me and I don't have anyone responding to say, hey, it's too much. We got to remember, a lot of this is the examples, pictures. It's not dense reading at all. So it's 49 pages, but it's in here in such a way that I don't think it's, too many rules. Let's see. So you got here it is. Battle generator. You're going to pick designing a battle with an opponent can be determined by assigning a number of points to each opponent, who then purchase units from the available list. In a meeting engagement, each side has an equal force. Please consider the chart below for your force size. Cool. How many maps you're going to play, about how many points you should have to spend. And this is great. This is exactly the kind of thing that my son likes. When we play like Flames of War, Warhammer, or something like that, those are all points-based systems where you say, okay, we're going to 200 points. And you buy a certain amount of troops and then you throw them on the board and they fight. Perfect. This is your unlimited playing. And it's almost like taking those tabletop concepts and then just bringing it to a board game. Easy. Here you go. Sample your example situation there. Defender versus attacker engagements. To the next line. To play to the next line engagement. Oh, interesting. It's a variant there. Series resources. So the points, we'll have to look. The points might be on a separate document. I'm looking here though. We're going to flip through and see what all we have though. But there's the rules for creating scenarios. Very simple. Use your point system. Here's how you set up your meeting engagement, or that attacker defender, or to the next line. So you got like three game modes, and then you use a point system. Easy. Series resources. So again, like I said, probably the best resources, just go to their website, hit that resource tab, like everything's there. And they also have the video boot camp. Some Gimpy Gamer has created just lots of videos talking about very specific points to the rules. So if you're that kind of visual learner, I think that's fantastic. They also have the Vassal mods, and you've got, if you're not familiar with Vassal, I would really recommend that you check that out. Take the time to go to vassalengine.org. Got the link. It's a virtual table space. It's not the most pretty system. I think, like for me, I like the system called Tabletop Simulator through the Steam platform. The problem is it has a couple limitations that makes it very difficult to play board games. Whereas Vassal is a phenomenal engine for playing board games. It's not as pretty of an interface. So I think, and there are a few items that Lock and Load Publishing has on Tabletop Simulator. But the biggest thing about Vassal is it's free. It's free. So they got the starter. So if you want to try out Nations at War for yourself, they have the Vassal starter kit. I saw that. And then you got your rules. You could play some, Nations at War to see if the game is right for you. All free. So again, this is a highly supported game series. Same with like Lock and Load Tactical, Nations at War as well. Battle gear. The Nations at War battle gear are items to enhance players' gaming experience. These additional items are not necessary to play but are available. I'll have to go look that up. Oh, litco.net. I use Litco stuff with a lot of my naval wargaming. They make like acrylic play aids, explosion markers, things. So I'd be very curious to see what they have for Nations at War. I haven't looked, but I might pull that up one time and we'll take a look at that together. The formation cards. Okay, well, maybe they're using formation cards. I was thinking the counters, but if they're using cards, then it's going to be exactly how I was thinking. Well, the formation cards for Nations at War series are substitutes for the formation counters included already in the game series. These formation cards are not required to play the game. Okay, well there. You have the counters and the cards, and I think the cards would be used the same way. Once you draw that last in-turn card, if you have units that hadn't activated yet, once you return everything to the draw pile or whatever, you hold on to that in-turn card until the units that hadn't activated for you previously, once they've activated, then on the next turn, boom, you can add that, shuffle that back into the remaining cards to draw. I think it would work just fine. I got it. In my head it makes sense. I'm probably not explaining it very well, but in my head I got it. Then we got the turn record track. Ooh, casualties there. Fate points. White Star Rising terrain effects chart. Desert Heat terrain effects chart. So again, you might be looking at it going, wow, what a huge book, but because it's got a lot of additional information outside of just straight up rules. Stalin's Triumph terrain effect chart. Counters. Counter terrain effect chart. Things like your Rex, anti-tank ditches, wires. Rules for that. Rules reference summary. There we go. So take all those bullet points that you saw earlier and you put them here in the play aids. And so if you go through and read the rules once with the play aids with you, at some point, boom, you can play the game just off the charts. Lovely. And there's 3 pages of charts. And that's probably going to get you through a majority of what you need. The operations phase, your check command status summary, perform rally, movement summary, move and fire summary, conduct your ranged combat, see if there's opportunity fire, assault, overrun. It's all right there. Perfect. And again, it's all right in the rulebook. Then the glossary and the index. That is, again, one of my favorite things of a rulebook. The index. Holy cow. And again, these are very comprehensive indexes. So if you do need to look something up, you can probably find it. Nothing under the PQ column section, though. That's all right. STU, and it's alphabetical. Nothing under the V. We got wire, Rex. Yeah, here it is. Starter kit scenario 1. Cats in the Mist. Oh, what a great way to start. T-34s versus Tigers. Nice. And a second guard's tank. You've got some Churchills, your Lend-Lease vehicles, and then a two Panzer IVs, two Panzer III, and those again are platoons. So these are platoons of vehicles, not just individuals. So one counter, but you're moving platoons around. After an intense bombardment and relentless pounding by German Luftwaffe forces, it was time to move in and do the heavy lifting of taking ground. Spearheading this attack are crack German heavy tank platoons, Tigers. This starter kit scenario uses maps and pieces from Nations at War, Stalin's. Yeah, apparently his name's Stalin. Stalin's Triumph. Oh, okay. Well, luckily, I bet you, without even looking, I bet you they have attached to the rulebook PDF counters that you can print out in the map segments. Plus, you can also get those resources and the Vassal mod, so you can just get your Vassal going. I might play Vassal on here one day just to show you guys how that works. If you haven't not seen Vassal, I think if you follow, Itinerant Hobbyist, Kev Sharp, Big Board Game, things like that, you're gonna see. I think they play Vassal. So if you want examples of that, just do a Google search or a YouTube search for Vassal play, and you're going to find people who show it. If you're not familiar with it, I think it's as popular as the tool is. I also find there's a lot of people who have no idea what Vassal is and what it can do for gaming. So check that out. Like for this example, if you don't have Stalin's Triumph and all you had was maybe White Star Rising, you're like, well, how can I play the starter? Vassal it. Vassal it. Here you go, Cats in the Mist, so it tells you your setup, and there they are, the counters. So again, if you don't want to go the digital way, the counters are right here. Print them out, glue them on your card stock back to back, cut it out, boom, you got counters. There's your maps, pieces that you can print out, then you've got the map, and you're good to go. Beautiful. And then you got some ads. So points, that's the only thing I didn't see in here was points. Let me go back to the battle generator, because it's I didn't look on the resource page yet specifically for points value. Those might be still being determined. I'm going to see if it mentions anything about where the points are. Hold on. Battle generator. To the next line, scenario pits two forces of equal size that fight for objectives located on their enemy side of the map. Points. Points. Yep, I don't see points here. So that's something I'll research and find out where the points are, so you can buy your forces and equipment and things like that, because I didn't see that in here. Alright, well that wraps up what is going to come in the version 3 rulebook. If you haven't looked at it yet, I would recommend that you grab this. If you're still rocking second edition stuff like I am, I think that this is a great compilation of resource. There's still going to be module specific information out there as well. This is just the core for the series in general. And then like I said, I think what I will do is Vassal up on the tablet here and then kind of show you how Vassal works. And I think that would be kind of fun, because then you can see, how Nations of War kind of looks, and we can play it that way. But just kind of flipping back through. So again, it might look like a lot of information, but once you get to the end, you're going to have those 3 pages of summary, which is all the rules pulled out. And look at there, like even the rules don't even really start until page 7. The first few pages are just explaining like the counter details and giving you the introduction. So actually, if we say that the core rules ended on page 49, take away 7 pages, 42 pages of rules. And that really isn't that bad. So I think this is a good rule book. And again, they do have the spiral bound as a separate purchase, which I wholeheartedly recommend, only because that lets you lay it flat. That is so convenient. When I bought the Lock and Load Tactical Core Rules 5 Spiral Bound, I don't regret that purchase at all. That was just so convenient to have. I didn't have to worry about it anyway. Get the Spiral Bound. But that's about it. I think that will do for now. thank you for watching. Again, if you have comments on the system, things you want to share, please do. I always like reading what people have to say about, you know, the game if you play it, what you think of it. What do you think of the rules? How do you like their format? I think they're doing a great job with the rules. I think these are some of the best rules. They've spent a lot of time getting these just right, and I think it shows. So with that, I will talk to you all another time. Thanks a lot. Bye.